What's up, Internet? You're tuned into a very special episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast where we're here to talk all about the Xbox Games presentation. Oh, no, wait. Showcase? What'd they call it? Xbox Games
The
Showcase.
Xbox Bethesda Games Showcase, followed by Starfield Direct.
No, I don't think Bethesda was in the name. See, we both got the title wrong. We both messed it up, Steve. But what we're not going to mess
Okay.
up is our conversation.
Xbox Game Showcase, followed by Starfield
Starfield
Direct.
Direct 2020.
Definitely had the followed by bit in there.
Yeah, there we go. But I mean, to not bury the lead, I think Xbox has taken the week here. This was quite a presentation from them. I think this was above average by any standard, but I think for Xbox, it's definitely one of the better ones that they've had in recent memory. Um,
Last year's, I think, was really good, but was less of a focus on gameplay. And they had a lot of third-party games that they relied on last year, and I feel like this year we got a lot of good glimpses of first party as
yeah,
well as a good
absolutely.
selection of third party, and the majority of it was gameplay, with the exception of I think one trailer which was solely cinematic. I think we saw gameplay of everything.
Even that though, it was in engine, so a little bit better than just like the raw cinematic, right?
hmm
Because like we didn't see any. I don't believe we saw any gameplay for Star Wars Outlaws, but it was
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That
actual
was the one that
cutscenes,
was
right?
like, yeah, it was all cinematic. But we don't know what the gameplay's like. But in Ubisoft's defense, they've got their own presentation today, tomorrow. Well, it depends when this goes up,
Tomorrow.
probably tomorrow. Then they'll be showing it off there. They've said that they're gonna show off more at the UB Forward.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I think I'm inclined to give this like closer to an A, maybe an A minus, because like
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
an A, and I think if you hadn't had the Persona stuff ruined for you, you'd have easily thought it was an A. But
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Is I'm
because that
leaning
got
more
like
towards the
leaked,
A because
yeah.
I think if those things were surprises, this would have felt like a oh shit. But I think even with those, getting to look at Metaphor Refantasio is like that was a huge oh shit moment, right? Like the new IP from the team that gave us Persona 3, 4, and 5. Like that's huge. This game's been in development for a couple of years. It's out next year. Like that's very exciting.
Yeah,
So
and day and date with Game Pass, right?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I to me like this was a really hot showcase. This was what Xbox needed to bring to assuage some of those concerns I guess we've had those last couple weeks or months. Particularly with Starfield,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well, yeah, 100% with Starfield. Like, we'll get onto the direct, but I think, the 45-minute glimpse we got to look at it, and I really loved the fact that it followed the same style as their developer direct that they did earlier this year, where we got a real taste of what the producers, what the creators of that game were working on and what they kind of put into it,
what
and
are the
some of the
things
stuff that they
that they
spoke
think
about.
are the coolest features, you know? Like this
Yeah,
is the
like
way I
stacking
like to play.
sandwiches on a table. Yeah.
Exactly. And that communicates so much about what you can actually go and do in that world, which I think is very cool, very exciting.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
But yeah.
there's a lot to talk about here, but it sounds like we're in agreement that this was a hell of a showcase. I'm excited to talk more about it with you. But if you do want to go catch the live reactions that we did to the showcase, the VOD is over up on the YouTube channel right now. So if you're an audio listener, head over to the YouTube channel and check it out. If you're watching on YouTube and you weren't able to catch it live and you'd like to watch our live reactions before you watch the breakdown, guess what? It's up there for you right now. So go give it a shot. But we're going to do this similar to how we've been doing our last couple presentation breakdowns. We'll start on the heavy hitters. And I think that, the stuff that we're kind of most excited to talk about, not necessarily in excitement order, but, the hot stuff up front. And then we'll jump into kind of some of the other big announcements that, maybe don't tickle our fancy quite as much, but that are still worth getting into because I think looking at this presentation, I don't think there was much here that wasn't of very high quality. There's stuff here that is like for very specific audiences, right? Like there was new expansions for like Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76. And, if you're not a member of those communities, like I don't know that the new expansion to those games is going to be what pulls you in. But if you are one of the folks playing those games, then you are excited about those announcements. So I think when the weakest stuff you have is stuff that's for somebody, right? It's for a dedicated community. That's a good spot to be, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think there was one game that we were like, "Ah, I don't know about this," but I think that was mainly because it was maybe a bit of a poor trailer where we were just like, "Oh, I'm not really sure what this gameplay is,"
Yeah, the
and
communication wasn't really there.
yeah, but that was it, which was, I think, Towerborn from the makers of Banner Saga, and we both said that, maybe if we know what about Banner Saga and what it is, then maybe that would have come
Maybe,
across,
yeah,
but
maybe that coulda hit a little bit more, but as folks on the outside, that trailer did not do much to contextualize it. We were kind of, like, debating what kinda game it even was, and that's not really what you want, right? Even when you have a name like Banner Saga attached to it, which, like, I'm familiar with Banner Saga in name only, so I kinda needed you to sell me on it a little bit more. But something that they didn't need to sell me on, but they absolutely did, was our first look at Fable, right? So this is, of course, Playground Games bringing back the classic Xbox franchise, and we got the announcement for this that was just like a very quick CGI trailer, quite a long time ago, and this is our first look at it since then, and
yeah,
I mean, it looks great.
I could not believe the fact that this was in-game footage. I genuinely thought when Richard Ayoade came on screen, I thought for sure this is cinematic, and it pops up at the bottom, it's in-game footage. Holy shit, this looks good. And I I love Playground Games. They make one of my favorite franchises of all time, Forza Horizon. I think they're fantastic at open world games. I think they're one of the best developers of open world games. I am so excited for Fable. It brings that British humor to the table that I feel like people loved from Fable,
Yeah.
and just like combines it with just absolutely gorgeous visuals and what seems like really great gameplay. I'm very excited to learn more about this one. This was, I think, the only game. Maybe there was two games. It was this one and the Clockwork game that didn't have a date on it. Didn't even have a definitive date at all, or even a release window. I can imagine this one's a bit further out. Probably 2025 is what they're targeting. But it's nice to get
Yeah.
a glimpse at it and kind of see that this game is real and the visual style of what they're going for and things like that.
Yeah, I think I've heard through the grapevine that this game is potentially, having a little bit of, like it had a little bit of trouble getting going, so the idea that it is, like, maybe a little further out because they wanna make sure that they're giving it time to breathe and develop, um, I think makes sense to me based on just those rumors alone, at least. But looking at what we saw here, like, it looks great, I think the style is good, the humor was there. Obviously, like the stuff that we did see gameplay wise of, the like the little bits of combat, the character interactions, getting to talk to the characters in the overworld and stuff like that. It just looks so gorgeous and fluid and like just such a modern, like it looks like a next gen Fable, in a way that it's really striking a chord in the way I was hoping it was going to. And yeah, I mean, this is a game that when they announced it, like Fable is for as far as Xbox franchises go, it's right there for me. Like Fable was my favorite game on the original Xbox. So I am very, very hopeful that this game will come out and wow people, and like you said, like we know Playground Games is capable of delivering truly exceptional high quality stuff. So getting to see them do something a little different, stretch their legs, bring back this classic IP, it's like this is the dream, right? This is the kind of project you want to see Xbox deliver on. And I mean, from what we saw here, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think it looks fantastic, and I have no doubt that Playground Games are going to knock it out of the park.
So we talked a little bit about this game earlier because it was the one that we didn't get any gameplay footage for, but we got a look at Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws, which is allegedly coming out next year. It'll be on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Oh gosh, hold on. Sorry. Ugh. Just trying to pull up the trailer. Started playing an ad there. Sorry about that. So I mean, obviously, there's a lot of questions to be had with this game, right? Like coming from Massive, it's like, what kind of game is it exactly? They're I think more known for doing the multiplayer thing, right? But
That's all
I
they've done, right? The Division was the last two
yeah,
games they've
that's
done,
their big thing, right? Is the division and then the
and
division 2.
I kind of feel like with a a title like Outlaws, it kind of feels like maybe that's the case. There's a bit of a blurb on it on the, Ubisoft trailer that they posted, and it says it's experienced the first ever open world Star Wars game set between the events of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Explored distinct planets across the galaxy, both iconic and new. Risk It All's Kay Vest, an emerging scoundrel seeking freedom and the means to start a new life along with her companion Nyx. Fight still and outwit your way through the galaxy's crime syndicates as you join the galaxy's most wanted. It may be, though, that it's a single
Oh,
player experience.
I am so relieved. That is definitely a single player experience.
Yeah.
There was not one word there that flirted with the idea of it being multiplayer. That makes me feel very confident because what we saw were
Yeah.
in-engine cutscenes, right? And it seemed to be
I
very
don't know that it
focused.
was in engine. I think this one was full CGI from, what I can tell. They didn't bring up that it was in engine on the screen.
You don't think so? I mean, these to me look like they're cutscenes in the context of the story. They don't look like
Possibly.
um
I feel like the way Microsoft was showing that it was in-game footage or in-engine footage, maybe they were only doing that on their own trailers, I don't know, and they left the discretion of the third-party publishers to put that up themselves. But, like, if it was, we'd have seen that it was in-engine.
I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm going by what Aaron Greenberg said, where he said that everything was in engine, right? And like this looks like footage from the game to me, rather than like proof of concept, right? Like it's like there's beats, there's character interactions
Yeah,
happening that
yeah,
seem to be in the context of the story, right? The scene that's happening right now that I'm showing to the YouTube kids, it's like her meeting characters that seem to be her companions throughout the story, right? And then the next cut is them on a mission together. So it's like I don't know, right? Maybe I'm overreading some of that, but I'm wondering if what you just suggested there isn't the case, that it was like Ubisoft's, they made this trailer and it's like whether or not it's communicating that is up to them. Because at the end of this, it teased that they would talk more about it at the Ubi Forward thing, right? But then we also had a game from Capcom that I'm assuming we will also see more of at their event tomorrow, but they didn't say, hey, we'll see you tomorrow. So who's to say, right? Like I wonder how much that comes down to those individuals making those decisions.
yeah. You could well be right. I think you probably are because we didn't, but there was some games we didn't see it on as well, like Payday 3. We didn't see, and it was fairly obvious that that was in game. I feel like for something like this, I would have liked the clarification because it looks so visually stunning that I feel like this could have been a
Yeah,
pre-rendered cutscene. If it's in engine, that's extremely impressive because I think it looks visually very impressive. And if it is a single player open world experience, I'm really excited about it. And I'm looking forward to seeing more at the Ubisoft presentation for sure.
that's definitely the vibe I get based on just what we heard and then you reading that blurb. It's like, oh, okay, this is exactly what I was hoping it was, I think. And
Mhm.
I mean, like more high quality single player narrative driven Star Wars games, please, because like this looks like such a vibe. Like this looks like such a the type of thing that I would love to have. And again, getting a story that's like not about a Jedi, right? As cool as Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor are, because it's actually a very real Jedi game, which is a thing we've not ever really gotten. The idea of getting to do like a game that is more like centered around smugglers and having this kind of like different tone and seeing different corners of the universe, like those are exciting things for me for sure.
Which seems to be what Disney wants to do with the larger franchise anyway, right? We've seen that some of the most successful TV series that they've done on Disney Plus have been about things other than Jedis, other than the
Yeah.
traditional stories that we've seen. And it's nice to see that this fits into the general canon between Empire Strikes Back and some of the other movies. Where it sits on the timeline is obviously yet to be determined, but it's exciting. It's an exciting prospect to actually have potentially another great Star Wars game because I feel like we waited so long for Fallen Order, and now we've had two great games from EA. It's nice to see other publishers getting a shot at it as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I hope it comes together because, like, I think I joked about this while we were live because we were talking about like, man, like Ubisoft's like, why are they showing all this stuff off at these other events? And it's like, well, now I actually want to watch Ubi Forward, right? In a way where I was like, I'm gonna watch it, but like, what are they gonna have to show me? And it's like, well, I want to see this. So if they're gonna show me more of this, like, I'm in. You know?
Yeah, what was the other game they spoke about? Was it Assassin's Creed that they showed off at the PlayStation event?
Yeah. Right? Was Mirage there?
Yeah, I think it might have been that one.
Yeah.
No, there was something at Jeff's show as well.
There was
Was
something
it
at
was
Jeff's. Oh, it was
we
Prince of
have Prince
Persia.
of Persia? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But again, that looked awesome. right? So that's 2
Yeah.
games now that I'm like, "Oh, shoot," like, very much on my radar. So then we got, of course, this was the thing that leaked early. So, I think that took a little bit of the wind out of its sails, but seeing how good it actually looks is like, oof, Persona 3 Reloaded, seemingly in the Persona 5 engine. It is absolutely gorgeous. Are you kidding me how good this game looks?
Oh, yeah, I kinda want them to do all of the games in this engine at this point because it just looks
We
fantastic.
shouldn't say engine, we should say style because it's in Unreal Engine. But it's like in the
Yeah,
style of
but
Persona 5.
the menus, everything about it, that
Yeah.
aesthetic, it feels like Persona 5, but with the Persona 3 characters and Persona 3 music and the same story. It's cool to see, it's really cool to see that they've gone back to this game. I didn't think we were gonna get it after we got,
The
P3
re-release.
Portable and, P4 Golden come into Game Pass. I did not think we were gonna get a remake of, Persona 3, but I'm really glad that we have because I feel like these are games that people got in on Persona 5 and like then now they want to go back and play the back
Yeah.
catalog and being able to play Persona 3, which I think Zaid said was one of the best ones in the franchise and really where like a jumping on point for people should be because Persona 1 and 2 maybe antiquated now. Um, it's nice to see that that's getting the love that it deserves.
I would just love to see them do this across the like, they should do it with 4 next, like, although Gold, I guess, is more modern, like, the thing with 3 was that, like, the original version of 3 on the PS2 was, like, a 3D more open world, like, not open world, but you know what I mean, like, more open environments, and then Portable is, like, has more of, like, a graphic novel, not graphic novel, it's visual novel type style where like
Mhm.
you're choosing places and going to them and things trigger and it's like you don't have that same like kind of realization of the 3D world. So it makes sense to do a remake of that one. Whereas like I could see them arguing that maybe 4 doesn't need it as much, but just do
Yeah,
it.
I don't think that 4 does. I think it still stands up, to this day, but it would be great to see it because, oh god, it would just complete it, I think. Really just
Yeah.
bring everything up to the kinda modern style.
I feel like it would be worth doing. I really do. Even though it
Yeah.
probably
If
doesn't.
this sells well, which I think it probably will, then I think they probably will. It makes no sense not to.
Yeah, I got a feeling this will sell like a new game. So pretty
Most
cool.
likely, yeah.
So keeping the Persona conversation rolling, Persona 5 Tactica, which was also leaked early, we got to look at it, and yeah, it's what it sounds like. It's a tactics game with the cast of Persona 5 and this new
It's like
character.
Persona XCOM.
Yeah, yeah, right. But like you can definitely see like it's got that like the influence of the Persona battle system like kind of infused into that style, and I mean I love tactics games so much, so this is very much for me.
Yeah. Interestingly, it uses the Persona Q2 visual style, like the chibi style that they
Yeah.
released on 3DS. So that makes a comeback, which is quite cool. But it seems like the same voice actors come back for the Phantom Thieves.
It
Maybe there's a new
yeah.
story here as well. It looks like there's going to be a lot for Persona 5 fans to dig into. And yeah, we both love tactics games. We both love the Phantom Thieves. Like this is a no brainer for both of us, I think.
Easy win. Yeah, easy W for me on this one. I will absolutely pick up this game. I am sure I will enjoy it quite a bit. It's been a really good time for tactics gamers lately. Between like we had, I haven't even been able to play them all. Right between Marvel Midnight Suns, Advance Wars, Fire Emblem Engage. We got this coming out. Like,
There's a new War Groove that was announced as well, wasn't there?
oh yeah, they announced Wargroove 2, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
But this comes out in November, 17th of November, which is very, very close, and it's coming to Game Pass. I feel like maybe this is one that I want to play handheld though. Like I will maybe pick it up on Steam instead, so I can play it on the Steam Deck on the go. Feels like a great game to maybe travel with. Feels really tactics games for me always feel at home on a handheld device rather than me
Yeah.
having to like sit in front of a TV to play them.
Yeah, I think that's generally true for me too. But hey, I mean, it's on Game Pass, so you could always,
You can
download it
stream it
and
from the cloud as well if you wanted to. Yeah.
right, totally. So that's like pretty easy. And then keeping on the Atlas train because Xbox out here stealing these Atlas reveals away from PlayStation, I guess. We got a look at so if you're a longtime Persona fan or like a dialed in Persona fan, I guess I should say, you're probably aware of the fact that three of the architects, like the people who are generally looked at as like the three big creative leads on Persona, they were the folks who worked on Persona 3, 4, and 5, left the Persona studio to start their own new studio within Atlas so they could make a new original IP for the first time in, a really long time. And obviously, we still have the P Studio team out making these spinoffs and working on the remakes and doing all these other stuff. So Persona's live and well, but these folks have been away working on this like secret fantasy project. And we finally got to look at it. It's called Metaphor Refantasio. And wow, this is a really cool one. This is like a big reveal for Xbox to have. I would not have expected this at an Xbox showcase.
And at the moment, according to metaphor.atlas.com and all of the trailers and everything for it, it's only been announced for Xbox. It's not, as of yet, been announced for any other
Yo,
platform.
really? Yo, that's crazy. So they're about to have all right. Our Shin Megami Tensei Nintendo exclusive. Persona is PlayStation exclusive. Metaphor Refantasio Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, except, it seems like, Xbox has stolen Persona away from PlayStation. I don't know what happened with that relationship. Even Phil mentioned it, right, at the show. It's like continuing our
Our
partnership with
ongoing
Sega
relationship.
Atlas,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, and it's like maybe Xbox just backed up with a boatload of money, but
Load of cash, yeah. Here you go. Here's a dumpster load of dollar bills.
But
Go
I don't
make
know.
metaphor.
It could also just be that they're playing the field, and like maybe like a year from now we see Shin Megami Tensei 5, or like a few years from now Shin Megami Tensei 5 comes to the other platforms. Couple years after this comes out, this comes to the other platforms, and they're just like, yeah, why don't you pay for our game up front for exclusivity, and then we'll re-release it on everything else 5 years later, and everybody will buy it again.
Yeah, I mean, whether this gets announced or not, I don't know. Because last year I think it was that we saw the Persona stuff at the presentation, right? The Persona 5 and Persona 4 and P3P releases at the Xbox showcase. And then
Hmm.
it was announced that they were coming to other platforms like 2 days later.
Yeah,
Whether we see that again and they're just like Xbox is just having its moment. But the fact that even on their website, it's only got the Series X, Series S logo and the Windows logo.
it's huge.
It's pretty crazy, yeah.
Really big win for them, especially because like I think when you really get down to it, that's always been where Xbox has struggled the most, I think, to compete is with Japanese games, is with the big JRPGs, like the like
Well, they
those
always seem to
series.
lose out with Square, like, Final Fantasy is like a PlayStation staple and never
Yeah,
seems to come over to Xbox.
and it's like, obviously that was the same thing with Persona, like that, like up until recently, I think most people would have argued that that was similar with Yakuza, where like that was a franchise you more associated with PlayStation. And then they brought every game in the Like a Dragon series, like to Game Pass. And, like they're
Well, yeah, we saw
clearly
another one here again today, like a Dragon Infinite Wealth with a really weird, trailer of,
was so funny. it was
Ichiban
just, it
on the
was
on the beach
just
naked.
a long cutscene where he just wakes up naked on the beach and he's just like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, that was really funny, and it seems like he's come to, like, the US, he's come stateside, like, just
Yeah,
washed
everybody
up
was
on the
speaking
beach.
English, and he was like,
Yeah.
it looked like he like washed up on the beach in Malibu or something. Like he
Yeah, it
just
was
woke
so
up.
funny.
It's like, all right, what the hell's going on there? But it looks interesting.
That's again part of that partnership with Sega Atlas, it's really
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting.
Sega's got some big games. Yeah, like we saw that new Sonic game, the teams over at Atlas and
Yeah,
RGG. It's like it's crazy. There's an
they're doing pretty
RGG
good.
showcase on Friday, and it's just like, what else have they got to show? We've seen Infinite Wealth and The Man with No Name. They got another Like a Dragon game
I
cooking
mean,
up.
think though, we really only saw cutscenes for both of those too. So maybe see some gameplay, extended look,
Yeah.
and you hype people up at the Xbox show because more people are going to watch it. And then
Hmm.
hopefully the folks that because that's like the same thing with the Ubisoft thing, right? Where it's like you were gonna watch the Xbox thing, you're gonna watch Summer Games kickoff. Were you gonna watch Ubi Forward? Oh,
No.
maybe you weren't, but now you will, right? Because you're like, oh, I want to see more Star Wars. I want to see more Prince of Persia. It's not a bad
Yeah, what
strategy.
was crazy was they like pre-announced like what games they were going to show at the UB Forward stuff,
Just
and none of it
kidding.
was stuff that many people cared about. It was
Yeah,
like,
it's interesting to be like, we're gonna set expectations poorly and then up the ante, and it's like, but okay. I mean, I hope people know that. I would have been like, we have new games that will have been revealed, like something like that, just to maybe gas people up a little bit more. But
We've
Uh,
got Just Dance 2024.
coming to Wii. So the next one we're going to talk about, I'm very excited to talk about. This is Avowed from Obsidian. Of course, we got the reveal again of this like in name only, really, a few years ago. We've not really seen hide nor hair of it since. But
Mhm.
it's Obsidian, like you made a joke, or I guess you made a comment that I turned into a joke while we were watching this of like, they've already proved their track record with I mean, this looks great, but they've proven their track record with Outer Worlds. We know they can deliver. And I'm like, man, their whole career is like a track record, right? Like, I don't point to me
There's a
the
couple of
Obsidian.
stumbling blocks. I
Yeah, but
think the
like,
Pillars of Eternity series was just, it was okay.
yeah,
They were not massive successes.
but it's a cult hit. A lot of people like it, It's
Yeah.
like it's certainly not.
Oh, yeah, I mean, these are the folks that started off at Black Isle. They created Baldur's Gate. They, like, moved on when that studio got shuttered down and made Obsidian. They created Fallout, and now they're, like,
They made
moving
New
on to
Vegas,
creating
right?
Avowed.
They
Yeah, they
made
made
Outer
New Vegas.
Worlds. They
Yeah.
made they made South Park: The Stick of Truth with Ubisoft years ago, right? Regardless of your feelings on
Pentiment, Grounded, those 2 games have been great successes for Xbox the last year.
yeah, like they got it. They got the sauce. So I was already confident this game was going to hit, but look, like this was a good look at it. We got a lot of footage, and I think it looks really good. The vibe of the world is a little different than I expected. It's very vibrant, very colorful. There are things about it that are like dark and gritty, and the stuff that you'd expect in like kind of a fantasy world, but its palette has kind of a made the
I
comparison to World of Warcraft, right? Where it's like that like
Yeah,
Technicolor kind of
it's,
vibe
like,
to it.
very colorful, yeah. And I quite like that because 'cause we're used to seeing all of these fantasy games set very real in that doom and gloom. I
Gray.
kind of feel like it's got a bit of a mix of, Sea of Thieves in there as well, like, there's a little bit of that less realistic, character models, especially for the monsters, like the skeletons and stuff, like, they really showed off that it was maybe, "Oh, this isn't necessarily like a Skyrim where we're going for the as realistic as possible," but man, some of the effects they showed off with there was like this one where he uses like both hands and then like fires out this explosion out of his hands. I thought it looked so cool. That combined with the weaponry, it's nice to have another studio making something like an Elder Scrolls again, and having something it's probably not going to be up there in terms of a Bethesda RPG in terms of scale, but in terms of quality, I
I think
really
that's
think
the
that the
interesting
Outer
question
Worlds
though.
was
Because I feel like when you talk about scale, I think the thing that's always kept Obsidian from having bigger scale is budget. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be as big as Skyrim, but I think it's going to be bigger than Outer Worlds. And I think Outer Worlds
yeah, I
2
think
is
it's
going to
probably
be
going to
a
be bigger than
lot
Outer
bigger.
Worlds. Yeah. I don't genuinely like. I think it depends on how much Microsoft wants to put behind it, and and how much Obsidian wanted to put behind it. They've had a lot of fingers and a lot of pies with Grounded and Pentiment and the Outer Worlds DLC and the ports to other platforms and the Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed. Like they've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I would imagine there's probably going to be more coming to Grounded. It's a live service game. They're going to keep that ticking over. So
I,
there's a lot
I
of things that they're working on.
I think it's interesting though because when you like I'm thinking back to the chapter in Jason's book about Pillars of Eternity and how like Kickstarter was this opportunity for them to like be more independent and be this because they've always been the studio that made these great classic fan favorite games, but then they would always have to struggle to find the next publisher deal to keep themselves afloat and get the next thing out. And I just wonder if now that it's like they don't have to think about that it's just like, all right, so all hands on deck, baby. Because it's like the Insomniac thing. It's like, how are you making this many high quality games at the same time and they're all this good?
I know, it's
But like, they
crazy.
don't
I mean,
fucking miss. Like, I don't, again, right? Even with Pillars, maybe they're not the best sellers. Point to me the Obsidian game that's bad, though. That's like,
yeah, it's not bad, but that's like their, I would say, most mid game. Like,
sure.
you're getting sixes or sevens out of 10, but there's no massive flops. But, you look at Fergus Urquhart's like track record, like I said, all the way back to Fallout, Baldur's Gate, Fallout 2,
Hmm.
Icewind Dale, all of those games, he's like a master of the traditional RPG, and to then take that and build Obsidian and start his own thing and have the backing of like Microsoft behind him. I remember when they joined up with Xbox, there was that he did like an interview and he was like, "Yeah, it's great because we can just like say we want to build this, and they're not necessarily bothered about sales because it's Game Pass, and we can just like build these smaller games." I don't think something like Pentiment gets built and published by a double A studio
No,
anymore,
no.
and
It's
they
it's
were
it's
able to do it.
yeah, or like they'd have to really fight to find a publisher for it that would do it.
Or it'll be like, "Well, okay, we'll make you that game if we can also publish this one." Because
Sure.
you hear about those kind of deals all the time where it's just like, "We don't really wanna do that, but we'll do it in order to do this."
Ah, yeah, man. I this was one of the acquisitions I was most excited about because I know that Obsidian just has the juice and they just need the money. And I feel like this game's gonna hit. And I think particularly in a world where we are all waiting for Elder Scrolls 6 or we're seeing all these like fantasy games come out and a lot of them are just not hitting, but clearly there's a desire for that flavor. Ooh, I think this is gonna be a hit. I really do. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I really hope so anyway. I mean, this was, I think, the first one where we were just like, wow, 2024 is really stacking up, right? Because I think we had
Yeah.
a bunch of small linked games, but then Avowed is coming out in 2024 alongside Persona 3. It's just like, wow, okay, when are we going to kind of
And
cram all these in?
they said Metaphor Refantasized is coming out next year too, right?
Jesus
So it's
Christ,
like,
okay.
yeah, okay, like we're already looking pretty stacked for next year, which is exciting. But again, it's like
Yeah.
we're getting to that midway point through the generation where like this stuff is supposed to start
Hmm.
hitting, and I maybe this is finally it. So
It'd
jumping
be
around a
nice
little bit,
if that is the case.
yeah, it would definitely be nice. We also got a official trailer for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, and got the confirmation that it is going to be dropping near the end of September. Not the best time for it to come out, but you know,
Always nice to see
um,
Keanu on stage, though. He's
it
a
was.
absolute hero.
Yeah, we love. He's the internet's boyfriend. Everybody loves Keanu Reeves, and Idris Elba
Yeah.
for that matter. We love Idris Elba here, so it's cool to see him. Uh,
We saw him for, like, a whole split second in that
he
trailer.
talks like
He
twice,
was, like,
Steve.
in the car, and then that's it. It's like, "See ya."
No, 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 you're, like, sitting across the table from him at one point, I
Oh,
think, you know?
okay, yeah. There's way more Johnny Silverhand than there is Idris, and he's, like, was meant to be the star of of this DLC.
No, you only see Johnny in the beginning, right? Isn't he only at the very beginning of it? I think so.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I'm watching the trailer now. You could well
See,
be
I
right.
just watched Idris Elba turn lights on. Come on, he did 3 whole things in the
Wow.
trailer, Steve.
Wow. It's crazy,
Can't give
insane.
it all away, can't give it all away. People gotta show up September. But, I'm interested to see how this one plays out because I feel like Cyberpunk is, kind of been going on its like apology tour, right? Like since the reveal, and they've done a lot of work to fix it. They've done some, content drops here and there that were all kind of like whatever, right? It was a lot of just like, here's a new car, here's a new this. It's not anything anybody's excited about. And this is obviously the first really significant addition to the game. We know it's actually the last really significant addition to the game as well. So you kind of, at least I was hoping this would feel like their No Man's Sky moment of like, we fixed the game. Now there's this new content. Let's let it
Oh,
have a
yeah.
moment again and see if it can,
Yeah, we
connect with
fixed the
people.
game. Please give us
Yeah,
another
exactly.
25 quid. Like,
And it's like
that's nice of
I
you.
I I want to play it, just to like get a sense of it, and also like so that if I want to keep talking shit about Cyberpunk, I can do it with you know,
Are you really gonna spend another $30 though to play an additional DLC? I don't think
will I
I'm going
have
back
to?
to that
What happens if it
game.
comes Game Pass? We'll see.
A DLC never comes
Oh,
to
you're
Game Pass.
right. No, you're right. Yeah, I don't know.
I know for a fact I'm not paying them any more money to play this game. I really regretted not getting a refund on my copy of Cyberpunk because I never went back to it after it was completely broken at launch. I was just like, I never went back to it. I remember so many problems with that game, like the broken AI for the police and things like. Yeah, they fixed it, but is it enough to give people confidence to go back? And we have no idea where this footage was captured either because oh no, it says it's PC footage with Series X quality mode settings. So I don't know if it's going to run as well as it does in the trailer
I
on
mean, it probably
Xbox. We'll have
won't,
to wait and see.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, like I have such a weird relationship with that game because I definitely think it's like a 6, 7 type game, but I also finished it. So obviously it has some things going for it. There was a lot of the side characters and some of those things that I really enjoyed. Like I particularly Judy and Pan Am's side quests were ones that I found myself enjoying and being invested in. So
Yeah, there was that one with the crucifix as well, which was a fun side quest. Did you ever
yeah, I
do
mean
that one with the
there
like
there
you sat in
is
the woman's kitchen?
yeah, I did do that. I did all the side quests, I think all the major ones anyway. So, like, I definitely, like, spent my time and then some with that game. So, obviously, it had something going for it. So, I would love
Yeah, either
to
that or there was nothing else at the time and it clicked for you because what else were you playing?
yeah, but that doesn't really happen for me that often, right? Like, I'll go back and play something old or whatever, like, I don't know. Like, it
True, but it was around the launch of the Series X, I think, and the PlayStation 5. I think people were hungry for something to play to kind of show off the chops of their new console,
yeah, that's
and
true.
Cyberpunk was that. And I kind of feel like a lot of people persisted because of it, but I think there was something in there. There was like a glimmer of what could have been a great game. It just wasn't at launch, and maybe it is now. I don't know. I've not gone back and tried it since they've added all the stuff in.
And that's kinda what I think is interesting about this, right? Like, there being this new content and something that is, like, I'm not having to go back. It's like doing a new thing in a new environment and, like, seeing if it has come together a little bit more, but not what I'm gonna rush out to play at launch considering when it's launching. The fact that it's coming out at the end of September, it's just like, I know I'm gonna be still playing Starfield at that point, so I have a hard time thinking I'm gonna pull myself away from Starfield to play Cyberpunk's DLC. Maybe something to do over the winter break or something like that, we'll see.
Maybe you're not going to be playing Persona 5 Tactica over the winter break.
Yeah, and
I mean, this is
that's
the problem, right? You gotta, like, pick, and there's Baldur's Gate 3 that you're not gonna have played at launch,
so I
and
wanna play that late, yeah, so
yeah.
it gets tough, right? It becomes a pick and choose kinda thing, and, it's like, I wanna play it, but Lord knows if I'll find the time.
Mhm.
So another one that I think was up there for me as like a hotter one was the look we got at Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. This is it's just so unsettling. I know that the I never played the original, but I know that the interior monologue, the voices that she hears in her head and everything are like a major feature of the game. And it was just so unsettling. Like you and I were both commenting through the whole thing of like, this is eerie, man. Like just having the voices in the back of, both of your headphones, like switching off and on and very
Yeah,
it's a
and they
lot.
recommend I recommend everyone goes and watches the trailer with headphones on because I think it's a very different experience if you watched it just coming out your TV speakers. It really feels, like, intimate. It feels like those voices are there, and you're right, I wanna go back and play Hellblade now because I never played the original. And to know the level of research they did and talking to people that dealt with schizophrenia and other kind of psychosis, I think it's really cool that they were able to capture that.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see where this goes. And not to mention the fact that this looks visually fucking insane.
So
Like
good.
it's absolutely gorgeous. For to come from what was a really small team at Ninja Theory, I think is so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows what you can do when you have a more limited scope, right? It's like you have a AAA team make a game that is supposed to be more double A or whatever, but like you don't skimp on the quality and of the visuals and the style and the audio design and all the stuff that really makes a more expensive game feel elevated. But rather than having it be a 40, 50, 60, 80 hour experience or whatever, you zoom in and make it 10 or 15 or what like that's so it's exciting, and I hope more studios will try it because it is the scope of like what you're seeing here just in the moments that we're getting are like it's so detailed and there's so much layer to the animation and everything, but it is supposed to be a more tight experience. It is supposed to be a more focused experience, and we could use more of that. I love a big check 'em box open world game as much as the next guy, but there's something to be said about doing something that's a little bit more. dialed in and trying to say something and give you an experience that's unique rather than, trying to give you the most holistic, like Starfield, right? Where it's like, we want to give you the biggest, craziest tool set imaginable and let you go. And it's like, that's amazing, right? We love games like that. But in the same breath, I think there's a lot of room for something like Hellblade 2 to experiment and do something that's new and fresh and that feels different than any other game. And that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see that they've been given the time as well, because we saw this a couple of years ago. It's not coming out until 2024, so they've been given a decent chunk of development time from Xbox, which is really nice. Get it right, put it out, it'll be a smash hit, and a great follow up to a great game.
Probably bring a lot of attention back on the first one too.
Hmm.
So the last game I want to talk about in the quote unquote heavy hitters category before we get into Starfield itself is I do want to talk about Clockwork Revolution. You brought this one up earlier, and this game I think looks so absolutely fresh. This is one of two games that we saw from In Exile. So if you're not familiar with In Exile, they're the team behind We Happy Few. They were acquired by Xbox a while back, I believe, and they we saw what was the other game that they had was
I think it was just this one that was in Excel. The other one was South of Midnight, which was from a different team. Um, I don't think it was from the same team
are you
as the
sure?
Clockwork Revolution team. Yeah, from what I can tell.
Oh, no, you
Started
know what? You're right, you're
from,
right. I'm sorry, I'm
Compulsion
sorry.
Games.
That's Compulsion. That's the We Happy Few studio. I apologize. In Exile, I'm mixing them up. Can you look up what they've done in the past while I pull the trailer up for the folks?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
They've
Um,
worked on a Bard's Tale mainly.
oh, okay, all right.
Torment Tides of Numenera, and the Wasteland series, which is the team I thought was gonna do the Fallout, top-down game.
Right, right. And Wasteland is like, of course, like Fallout type successor. The Bard's Tale, really, really good series. I've only played the first two, I think. But it's like a top down CRPG type, adventure, but with a good sense of humor. This game I just think looks so cool. It reminds me a lot of like BioShock Infinite or maybe like Rapture from BioShock Before the Fall. And it's like this very, steampunk utopian type society. But then you kind of get this, you get this sense that the woman who runs this kingdom or whatever is like not really a good person, and the character that you're playing is like kind of this revolutionary who's trying to like take the system down, and then also she has time powers. So it's like you have all these cool, like steampunk guns and everything, but then they also showed this scene that's coming up in a minute here on the YouTube video where she like pulls a bridge down and knocks all these people off of it and then puts the bridge back up with her time powers, right? And there seems to be this sense of like you going back in time and making choices and then having that impact the kingdom and the world, and you're like fighting this war against her as you're gradually changing the timeline.
Yeah, I thought it looked so cool. Initially, it was like a really great framing device, right? You've got this one person that can destroy everything. She's like in this tower that's seemingly powering the whole city. And if she does something, then she can kind of take it all down. But then as the trailer progressed, seeing that it, turns into a bit of a first person shooter in places, but then as you destroy something, you can just rewind time and just like completely change what happened. It was such a cool idea, such a cool concept. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this one. And this was the only other game, as we said, that didn't have a date on it. It was just like coming in
Yeah,
due
due date was
time,
in
was what they
coming in
said.
due time. It's like, all right, good. Take your time with it. Because yeah, I mean, it looks phenomenal. I mean, I hope it's sooner than later, just because I want to get my grubby little mitts on it. But I think that game looks exceptional. I'm very excited to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out next year, but I kind of feel like this one's another 2025 release that they're probably targeting. And if we get Fable and Clockwork Revolution in 2025, and we get all of the other games of they promised in 2024, I kind of feel like we're going to have 3 big years from Xbox in a row where we've got Starfield, we've got Avowed, and then we've got, Clockwork Revolution, and Avowed like the following year. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I think it puts them in a really good position, frankly, because that's what we've been talking about. Is like, when are the dominoes going to fall? When are they going to finally have it lined up where they're actually getting these games out every quarter? And like, I mean, if all these games hit when they say that they're going to, like, it feels like they're going to be on a really good clip for a couple years here.
Yeah, which I think they probably should. I think they've maybe learned their lesson with giving solid dates with Starfield and then having to change that 3 times. It was embarrassing.
And being more
And I feel
involved, like
like
the whole Redfall fiasco, right? Of like coming in and like making sure that you're like giving the resources that you need, that when you're buying a studio, that you're checking in, like, how are these games coming? Do we need to cancel any of these? Do you want to be working on something different? Was this, a
mhm.
mandate from a boss that doesn't exist anymore? Like, why are we making this game? Right? You
Yeah, I
hope.
think all of those things kind of tie into it, but I do also think that then even for next year, right? On all of their first party games that they announced for 2024, not one of them even had a window. It was just it's coming in 2024.
Yeah.
We're not sure yet. And I hope they do what they did this year, where we have that developer direct at the beginning of the year. It kind of sets up the year. Maybe we get like a shadow drop, like we did with a Hi-Fi Rush, and then we see what else is coming for the rest of the year. Because I think that worked really well for them. I mean, we got till June before we had the release date for Forza Motorsport, which is now we know coming in October 10th. Up until then, we'd seen that it's coming in 2023 in January, but we had no idea at what point that was going to come. And it was nice to see that got a release date as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was another really big win, right? Like, it's like that game looks great. I'm sure it will review really well. It'll be a huge win for the folks that play Forza, and it's just
Yeah, they'll
another
clean up
feather.
the they'll clean up the sports category and maybe the sound design at Game Awards, which was really where Forza always wins.
Yeah, for sure. Unless there's a Star Wars game. That's the other one. So, there were a lot of other games that caught our attention that I think looked good. Dungeon of Hinterberg was another indie title that like had that almost like roller drome art style to it. We like the look of that. City Skylines 2 is looking really hot. That's later this year as well. Another
Can't
really
believe
big
that's
win.
coming in on October 24th. We just got DLC for City Skylines 1 and, the sequel's coming out in October. Looks really fresh. It looks like a true sequel to that game. I think a lot of people were like, "Do we really need a sequel? Can
Yeah.
we just keep adding stuff to City Skylines?" But I think they've kind of proven from the trailer that, yeah, a sequel is ready.
Same vein as that, we got to look at Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, right? Which is like seemingly bringing back the annual releases to that title, which is something I didn't really think we would see. I thought it would kind of be more of a platform and they just keep adding to it.
And they want
But
another 70 quid off of people who are gonna buy it on PC.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
that's
but yeah, or if you have Game Pass, you just play it there, right? And it's like, okay, cool, great.
Yeah, but you never get any of the DLC
Yeah,
on Game Pass, so,
buy the DLC though.
it's pretty cool. All the stuff they added was really interesting as well, like all the careers. You joked on the stream, it was just like, "Oh, so basically anything you can do in the sky, you can do here," and then as they just kept showing more
It
and
just
more
kept
and
going. They're like
more.
hot air balloon tours. I was like, Jesus Christ, yeah, you guys really you're going all out on this one, huh?
Yeah, and then, like, that weird Dune dragonfly helicopter thing that you could, like,
Yeah, it was
fly
very
around
cool.
and all over the place, which is coming, that looked cool.
And we got the Sea of Thieves Legend of Monkey Island DLC announcement. Definitely another really cool
Oh,
internal
such a cool
announcement, right?
crossover. Yeah, such a
Yeah,
cool
perfect. A
crossover.
match made in heaven, of course, and it's like, obviously, shout out to Sea of Thieves for continuing to reinvent itself and maintain relevance. A game I really think, when it came out, it was a little soft, and like they dedicated themselves to it and really kept growing it. And it's like such a big success now. It's so cool to see. The vision, I think, proved
Yeah, it's
itself for
nice. I
sure.
think it's really, Microsoft's biggest live service win, I
Yeah.
think, at least in the Xbox Game Studios family. I know over at the fence at Bethesda, they've got ESO and Fallout 76, but man, Sea of Thieves really has some staying power, and I never thought it would. It makes me question why Ubisoft's what's that game that keeps getting canceled and moved and stuff? Like, why does that even need to exist?
The God, what is it?
Yeah, you can't remember it, right? That's how
Skull
memorable
and
that game
Bones.
is. Yeah, Skull and Bones. It doesn't need to exist anymore. We've got Sea of Thieves. Just move on, Ubisoft,
Oh
cancel
my
it.
god, they can't. They owe they owe
They owe
the
Singapore
Singapore
government a
government, yeah,
lot of
paid a bunch of
money.
money for it. So
Yeah.
and yeah, then we got the last there's a couple other things that are like just here and there, right? Like Overwatch 2's DLC, the story stuff, gotta look at that. We gotta look at Jasant from Don't Nod, which is another really cool looking indie game. Payday 3, 33 Immortals is a new game from the team behind of Spiritfarer, right? It's like a action 33 co-op player game.
Yeah,
A
really
lot of really
weird.
cool stuff. They also announced a new Xbox Series S that's got a 1 terabyte SSD that comes in black. That's looking pretty cool. You know,
And only $50 more. But at that point, I'm just like, "Well, do I spend another $100 and go for the Series X?" But,
I already feel
you've
that
really
way about
gotta.
the Series S. Don't buy the Series S, buy the Series X. That's what I would tell you
Yeah.
to do. But of course, all of that, right? I think surprisingly, all of that, considering how much really cool stuff they had to show us today, I think it all paled in comparison to the 45-ish minute deep dive we got on Starfield. Starfield looks incredible.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how much they had to show. I thought when we were getting a direct, we commented, we were like, "How long do you think it is?" And I thought it was gonna take us up to half past. I thought we were gonna have, like, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. But it went all the way around to like 10 to. We had like 45 minutes of a real deep dive, a great like interviews with the developers, like walking us through the systems that each one of them had worked on and built. There's so much to unpack here, like in terms of gameplay, in terms of all the systems that
In
you
terms
can
of no
do,
leather jacket on
story.
Todd
I
Howard.
know, crazy. Well, I mean, the main one of the main characters in the is it the UC or whatever it is, the United Colonies, I
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
is, that had stolen it. But even the fact that we got a glimpse at everything, right? They've really revamped all of the systems that we know and love from previous Bethesda games, like the skill tree and the character builder and the inventory system. All of that stuff is there. And Todd joked that they love items, and they've given like unique descriptions to every single one, and you can
Yeah.
stack the sandwiches on a table in your ship if you want. They really took it to the next level. I'm so surprised at how good this looks. When we'd seen it previous, and we got a look at it was really just the gunplay that we'd seen, and maybe a little bit of the kind of scanning of the worlds. I don't think I had any idea of the scope, like the number of NPCs in the world, the number of factions, the number of
Well,
ships,
it's
everything.
I think it's because, like, they talked about it. They told us it, but they didn't show us it. It's like, there's 1,000 planets. It's like, what does that mean? Right? Like, it's like, how many can I actually go to? Like, are they gonna be a lot of them gonna be these whack, empty, procedurally generate like, and it's like, no, they're not like that. A lot of them are lifeless, and that you might just go there for resources, but, like, you could still have cool dynamic world events happen there. Like, you'll know before you go to a planet whether it has life or big events, or if it is just a small side planet for you to just go screw around on. Those are all things that
Or
immediately
build an
make
outpost on. Like, you can just
right
build an outpost anywhere if you want to, and that might be a great
on
place
any
to do it
planet.
in the middle of a new system, and you can just pop an outpost down and have people, like, doing things there for you,
You
which
can
is
have it
great.
like you can like basically like start fracking this random planet and like pull resources from it that'll, help your base out or whatever. They got into all of that. They got into like what the material like how the moment to moment of space travel, of how companions work, of how your character, like not even just customization of like the physicality of your character, but like you choose a backstory, you choose character perks and quirks, and they like range from like the kind of the typical stuff that I think you'd think, where it's like, oh, like I'm a character who I'm a weapons expert, or I'm a great talker, or I'm this or that. But then they showed like very specific ones of like, there's one where you can make it where like you're like really close with your parents and you can go visit your parents on
Oh, your
your
grandma invites you over for a sandwich to a ship or whatever, yeah,
yeah,
that
or
was
like
was funny.
or there was one where it's like, you have this guy who's like a unique party member that you can get who's like your biggest fan, and he has like these advantages, for your crew and your ship or everything, but he never shuts up and he's always like kissing your ass and they were like, oh, he could be an
Yeah.
advantage if you can put up with him, and stuff like that.
But
And it's like,
even down to, like, their professions, right? Where they were
yeah.
talking to someone just randomly in a canteen somewhere, and it was like, "Oh, maybe I should leave this to the professionals," like, it's
Well,
what
yeah, it
what
was
you had
like
done.
there was a mission that he was kicking off where he needed you to go to hunt some monster, and if you had Beast Hunter as one of your perks, uh, you can I think the unique dialogue was like, "Oh, you should pay me double because I'm an expert." And he's like,
Hmm.
"Okay, yeah, you know what you're talking about. I'll leave it up to the professionals." And it's like, I'm sure you can get that same quest if you're not a beast hunter, but like, maybe you don't get as much of a payment, or maybe you can't get it because you don't know what you're doing and he doesn't want to hire you. But I love
Yeah,
stuff like that. That was my favorite thing about Outer Worlds. Is like it's the real, true Dungeons and Dragons role playing stuff of like I'm in a situation and there are literally dozens of ways that I can handle it. But what are the skills that I have and that I've built? Who is my character? Is my character a talker? Are they
this
a
hobo cop.
scientist? Are they a fighter? Like you can make those calls.
Yeah, I hope that there is a way, even if I don't have it, because we did see in some of them that you can bribe your way through if you want to, and you can play stealthily, which is cool. But I hope there's a role, like a slight chance, like there was in Disco Elysium, where even if it's like
You
a
might just
one
fail.
percent chance, I really, really just want to try and like see if I can do it. And if I can't, then I'll shoot my way out of it.
I
Uh,
I feel like that is how it worked. I When I was looking at, because like they had dialogue options and it looked like
and
there
they're
were
different
numbers next to
colors.
them. Yeah, right. So I'm thinking it'll be like,
You have
yeah,
very little chance at this, yeah. But good luck if you wanna do it, fine. Yeah, it's a far cry from the Oblivion system. Do you remember that one where it was like a circle and you had to persuade them and you looked at their face, whether they looked annoyed that you were complimenting them or they were, like, happy that you were, like, making a shitty joke? That was the system that you had to, like, work
not
with
good.
back in Oblivion, and this is like a far cry from that. One other thing I really loved that they had completely rethought was the skill-based system, that everything is now tied behind, like, a series of challenges that you do. So if you, like, open 10 locks, then your lock-picking skill will jump up another level, and then it will become progressively more and more difficult to get up to the next level, but you can eventually master it, and you can build out this whole skill tree, which looks like a series of patches that you would have. And I loved the way all of that looked, and even the visual style of the game. Right? What did they call it? Like NASA Punk, I think they were
NASA
said they
Punk,
were
and they
going with.
said that
Yeah,
the goal of it was like having the kind of like grounded practicality of like what actual spacefaring devices look like, but then bringing in that heightened sense of style and execution, and Um, and like I really like the aesthetic. I like the color choices. I like the feel of it. And right now I've got footage showing off some of those skills. They are very random, right? Like one of them is like you get a jetpack, right? And one of them is like you can mind control animals, right? It's like
or you
that's
could punch someone. Remember
your
the guy
super
punching
punch.
his way through everything? That was so funny.
My favorite part about that, we're showing the footage right now, is like they're called neuro strikes, and it's like a couple hard cuts of the guy just like running up and punching somebody, and it's just like and like the people like floating off because there's no gravity, or whatever.
Yeah, it's great. I really think the more I look at it, the more I dig into it, the more I see of it. When they were showing that presentation, I was like, damn, this is gonna be a smash hit. I really, really think it is. If you love Bethesda games, and I think a lot of people do, I think Skyrim has proved that. I think a lot of people are gonna love this game.
We've talked a lot about this game, and I think with after like not seeing a lot of it and having to base a lot of it off of just like what we've been told and the little slivers we've seen and kind of the promise of what we know Bethesda game studios can do when they are firing on all cylinders. It's been like, this could be great. This could be this could be that. And after Redfall, there was that kind of sense of like, uh-oh, like, could this not hit the mark? Could this run at a suboptimal frame rate? Could it have these problems, that problems? I mean, it's a Bethesda game. It's going to be glitchy. It's going to have stuff at launch. Like, I don't even want to entertain that conversation because it's not worth having. But looking at this and like actually getting an understanding of what the scope of the game is, what you'll be doing, how you interact with other characters, how your stats influence the game, and how you choose to explore the world, and like what kind of character you want to be. Like when they got to the whole section on shipbuilding, which is another totally unique thing where you have 100% control over how your ship's built and what it looks like and everything. They were talking about how if you want to be a bounty hunter, you want a ship that's small and fast and strong. If you want to get into like smuggling or cargo hauling, you need a bigger ship with a bigger cargo, right? If you want to have crew members, you need to build spaces for them to sleep. Like that is all so cool, but also it speaks to, again, the level of control you have over what kind of character you want to be. Am I going to be a hero? Am I an adventurer? Am I a pirate? Am I a scoundrel? Like you have that ability to make those choices
Yeah, I
and then
loved the fact
really
that you could
embody
just
that
pirate.
character.
I love that you could just pirate anything, and if someone starts attacking you, you can dock with their ship and just go on board and kill
You
them,
can kill
and then
everybody and
take their
steal their
ship
ship.
and just like walk away, no problems. Yeah, it's really really interesting.
And, like, they were talking about how some of the, like, skills and perks that you pick and everything will, like, influence dialogue in unique ways. Like, one of the developers was talking about how, they had a random encounter in space, and somebody was like, "Hey, like, we're gonna attack you," and they were, like, the same religion that his character had chosen, and it's like, "No, no, no, like, I'm part of your group," and they're like, "Okay, cool, see you later." Like
Yeah. That's one thing I always loved about, or I loved about, Bethesda Game Studios games with is the factions that you can never be on everyone's side. You're always gonna piss someone off, and I really cannot wait to piss off, like, the Space Cowboys or piss off the UC or really annoy this cult.
Let's talk about that real quick because they were showing off the different factions, and that was the thing I was really impressed by. Was like the level not only of just like biodiversity of like each planet looking very different, but each planet having its own culture, right? Where it's like there's a group where like everybody had like Russian accents. There's like the space cowboys, and they all sound like they're from the Midwest, and they're wearing cowboy hats and all this goofy stuff like
Well,
that.
and then there was the ones where they went and they're like, "Oh, we didn't know there were any other humans that got off of Earth. We
Yeah,
thought we were the only ones."
and they're like these groups you can find in like deep space that are like not official cities, but they're like underground like smuggler towns, or they're like, you know, this like secret society, you know, that's got this thing on the edge of the galaxy, and just so much opportunity for you to get out there and like make decisions and decide like what kind of character you want to be and who do you want to interact with and where do you want to go, you know?
Yeah, I really can't wait at this point. I'm just Yeah, I'm over the moon. Absolutely over the moon. I've been waiting for another Bethesda game for so long. I've replayed Skyrim and Fallout 4 a million times at this point. I've gone back to New Vegas. I'm ready for the next one, and it really feels like on every level they really upped the ante. They stepped up in terms of visuals, in terms of gameplay, in terms of systems, like the gunplay for starters. That's worlds apart from what we had in
Oh
Fallout
my
4.
god, it looks so much better, and it's like, okay, because I remember at first being like, "There's no VATS. Is that gonna be okay? How are we gonna feel about that?" And it's like, "No, it looks good. I think we're
Yeah, and
fine."
even the, like, dogfighting in space seemed like they'd put a lot of thought into it, that you can
Oh my god.
target specific systems or change your system so you can, like, funnel more into, like, the hyperspace drive so you can, like, get
Yeah.
away if you want to.
Yeah, like, you can literally do the whole, like, the thing you've heard in any movie where there's, like, a space fight where it's like, "Oh, you know, revert power away from the front shields and stick them on the rear shields and the thrusters so we can run away," and, like, you can literally do that. Or, like, if you are getting in a dogfight, you can be like, "Put all power to the shields and the guns," and, like, move slow and just fire them out of the sky, and, like, you can get, uh, abilities for your ship, like an auto lock and, you know, like, stronger weapons and, like, all kinds of stuff like that, and, like, you'll have your crew members that are not only party members, like when you go out and explore, they actually impact how your ship is flown and stuff. So you can get a pilot, you can get a gunner, you can get, you know, engineer, right? And like that
Or
is
you
all
can
gonna.
find people out and about, right? And I was like, "Oh, you can stay in, mate.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
wanna go
yeah. Like
anywhere."
they were like, there's like because there's companions that you'll get over the course of just like the plot, right? But then there's also companions that you can just find in the wild. Either like you could find a guy crash landed on a planet and you could have him join your crew, or you could go to a town where there's like a bar where mercenaries hang out and you could hire somebody, you know, and like build out your crew that way. And it's interesting to think like how many companions are there then? Because it seems like a lot.
Yeah, and even talking about that, right? The character builder system, they'd built all the NPCs with it. And so the fact that they'd scanned all these faces in and it like merged them together and mixed it, every single NPC in the game, you can build that in the character builder if you want to. And I really can't wait to see there's gonna be you remember when during the Me period and there were websites and you
Yes.
could like, make Hitler if you wanted to or whatever and like bring it into your
Play this
Wii.
game as
I
Jack Black. Play this game
Yeah,
as
exactly. I can't wait until like people are just like, yep, set this to like 70% of the way there. Choose this color, and I can play it as like a celebrity. It'd be great.
I remember the me thing you just said reminded me of that. I remember I had a Hitler me that was just named Bad Man and would pick him as the enemy in boxing all the time and just beat the shit out of him, you know? Yeah, man. The scope of this game seems incredible, and I was worried when the last time they talked about it that it was gonna be like, "Oh, it's so big that it feels
Empty.
intimidating," or that it's like there's gonna just be too much bloat or this. It doesn't feel that way at all. Like, looking at this, I'm like, "This looks
This
like
is where I'm
something
gonna
else."
lose 200 hours of my life, and I'm okay with that because I'm gonna have a great time exploring and finding things that no one else is ever gonna find. Because that was something else, right? That is completely random events that happen on these planets, and someone could go to the exact same planet as you, and it may not happen. And I love
Yeah,
that.
and that I thought was really interesting where they were like the planets that are not handcrafted they're generated like by their planet system through AI, and then all of the events are handcrafted. So like if say they one of the examples they showed was like you end up on this planet and there's like a smuggler base or something like that, right? Or there's like these scientists here that got lost. They don't know anybody else left Earth. There's things like that. And that, Steve and I could have that same encounter, but it might happen on a different planet. It might happen in a slightly different way. But like the dialogue and all the stuff that's like tailor made to make even the environments, like they said, they do environmental storytelling in those sections. So like maybe the whole planet is procedurally generated in the spots where you're just walking around and collecting resources. But when you get to the point where it's like, oh, there's a thing on the horizon, it's like, random encounter number 134, right, is triggered. And like that happens to be where it happened for you on the map. That seems like such a clever way to make this game have, quote unquote, 1,000 worlds without having a bunch of them feel like there's nothing to do and there's no reason that you would ever go there.
Mhm.
Really
Yeah, and
ingenious.
to add so much replayability that I'm not gonna feel like, "Oh, do I wanna go to that world because this event's gonna trigger and I don't wanna do that," it's gonna be completely different every single time, and I can go in and I can align with a different faction, or I can play with a different set of skills that I've selected, or a different profession and a different way of playing. There's so much you can do, and it's exactly what people from a role play game.
I particularly appreciate that the professions are pretty varied. Like one of the ones you can pick is chef. They showed that where someone was like joking, like, "Oh, we always joke like, what reviewer did you piss off to end up out here?" kind of thing, And it's just like that's hilarious. That's a hilarious skill set to be able to start. Yeah, I'm a chef. Okay, great, awesome. How can I use that?
Go out, cook up some of the best food.
I guess so, right? You start a restaurant. That seems like you can do whatever you want in this game. So. But yeah, man, this game I would say was already on my short list for, most anticipated titles of the year, but there were reservations with that, right? There was that concern of like, is it going to hit? Is it going to come together? Is Bethesda going to be able to live up to, their own legacy and their own hype? And then let alone the pressure that exists on this game now to be a hit and to be successful and to be like the thing that kicks off this domino of high quality Xbox releases that we've been talking about. I'm a lot more confident it's going to hit that now after seeing this. This feels like it's where it needs to be. And that is such an exciting prospect cuz I mean that what does that mean, right? Like is this could be a game we look back on 10 years from now and are like, man, I wonder when they're going to be able to match up to Starfield, right? And it's like, what an exciting prospect that is.
No, in 10 years' time, we're gonna be playing Starfield on the next Xbox or the next Xbox because 'cause they'll just keep re-releasing it. Starfield Deluxe Edition, Starfield Definitive Edition, Starfield Anniversary Edition, and they'll just keep riding that wave until we get the next Elder Scrolls 6, whatever it's called.
There we go.
But before we wrap up, I do wanna touch on the controller and the headset and the special edition because
Oh my god, I forgot that watch is so cool. Like, why is that so sick?
it's $300, and I'm sure you're gonna end up buying one, but I really want that controller. I've looked at it in more detail. The triggers are see-through. It's so
Oh
gorgeous.
no,
It's
Steve.
you can see the motors inside the trigger. It looks so
Does
fucking
that
sick.
does that come with the special edition?
No, the special edition, you get the watch.
Fuck. I want both of them and I'm not made of
Why?
money.
It's gonna be $360 then that you have to
Yeah,
spend.
I don't know.
But you do get, like, the DLC and all of that, like the season
Yeah.
pass and stuff, so they do give you that.
I just want the watch. That watch is so cool. I've been wanting a smartwatch for a while, and I was like, "This looks so dope." It's the exact same watch the character has in the game. Come on.
They have said on the website that, connection with the phone is very limited, that it's not a touch screen, and there's a bunch of other things. It's really just like a collector's piece, uh, that can do, like, a couple of things,
But
but
it's
it is
hot.
cool.
It's hot though. Like it's a
Yeah.
nice looking watch. So it's like, maybe.
I really think the headset looks really nice as well. You
It
got
is
the
a really
transparent
nice
plastic
headset.
on the microphone piece as well, so you can see inside of there, and everything's in that same Starfield aesthetic. Oh man, it looks so good. Like the controller is $80 and the headset's $100. And I think I want the controller because it's
It's
just
not
this
bad.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's worth plunking down, I think. Yeah, I mean, what a showcase, man. Yeah, like you
I
said it at the
know.
top. It's an easy A. That's an easy one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Absolutely slam dunk. I really think that Microsoft assuaged a lot of people's concerns, not only with Starfield, but with there's no games on Xbox. Well, I think you compare this presentation to PlayStation's from a couple of weeks ago, and it's really night and day. We
No.
walked away from PlayStation's being like, Seriously, what did you actually have here?" And we walk away from this one with like, "Holy shit, 2024 is one hell of a lineup." And we've also got 2 massive games from Xbox this year.
And I liked that, there was a lot of good third party partner stuff, but more about 50% of it was first party. That's what you want.
Yeah, and we had hardly anything of first party at the PlayStation side.
No.
It was really, really disappointing.
It was a
Xbox
very
really
short list.
Yeah, Xbox did a great job here, and the focus on gameplay and in-engine stuff over cinematics, yeah,
Small amount of
100%.
talking too. Like it was nice that it was like they had those first three, and I remember we were literally like, "Damn, all right, we're on a good clip here." And then Sarah Bond's like, "Welcome to the show," and I was like, "What? That
Yeah,
was the intro? You showed
with
three games? Like, what do you mean, welcome?"
Sarah Bond, like, opening it up, and then Phil Spencer closing the show, and then, like, over to
Great.
Todd Howard to walk us through, Starfield. Yeah, it was nice. It was, like, really snappy, great pacing.
And I really liked they did this twice, where when Phil came on and was like, oh, "Okay, great, like we're kind of wrapping it up. We're going to transition over to Starfield." He like named every game and was like, "These games and this game and this and this." And then at the end, instead of just doing a sizzle reel of like, "Thanks for watching. Here's clips of everything you already saw," they showed the logos and they were like, "Remember the names of the games you saw," which made them so much stickier. Even smaller games. I'm like, with 33 Immortals. I remember the name of that game because they showed me the name 3 times, right? And it's like, cool, great. Instead of me being like, "Oh, what was that game with the 33 people or whatever?" Right? Like I know now.
Mhm.
That was a really good
And
way
I
to
think that
frame it.
they did a really good job with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No,
just it was
you're right.
clever, well paced, like well executed, good announcements, and they didn't overpromise. Nothing they showed me was like, "Oh, you're gonna be playing this 6 months from now, baby." Like it's like, no, come in 2024. It's like, all right, I trust you. And if it slips, it slips, right? When it slips from 2024 to 2025, that feels way better than, oh, it's coming out next September. To actually, it's coming out the following September. Is that okay? Like, granted, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, delays are fine, right? I'm not going to complain about that, but I want to see what's coming next without you getting my hopes up to dash them, right? Like when you're going to give me that date, that reveal, that moment, just make sure you're ready to hit it, right? Like I think the way we saw with Spider-Man, right? Where it's like we revealed it, we don't talk about it for a while, you get your first look at it, here's the date. That's a great way to do it because you know it's coming. You can talk about it. You can be excited about it. You can have the fans prognosticate of what's going to come and what's this and what's that. But you don't spoil its moment. And then when it has its moment, you're like, by the way, it's coming out soon. Here's the date. God bless. Like, and it feels like Xbox is in that rhythm here. And I'm very, very pleased. Because I got to say, walking away from this, I'm excited about probably about half, if not more than half of the games we saw today. That's
No,
great.
I'm 100% with you on that. You know, even some of the stuff where I'm just like, "Oh, I'm not sure about it." It's like, "Well, it's coming to Game Pass day one. Why wouldn't I just try it
Yeah, why
and
not
give
kick
it
the
a go?"
tires on
You
it and
know?
give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
And even the stuff that's
Yeah.
not for us, it's good stuff, right? Like it's like we were talking about, we never played Payday 3, but people love Payday, right? Maybe this will be the one I try, maybe not, but it's a good game and it's a good announcement. and Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76. They speak to an audience. You hit those and you did it quick and you moved on. Great. Awesome. You even commented the 76 trailer was cute. It was delightful, right? So even though I don't really care about it like that, it wasn't boring, right? And it was
No, it was
over
really cool,
quickly.
yeah.
So
Yeah, like, all of it was, I think, just fantastic pacing. I never felt like, "Oh god, is this gonna end soon?" It was like, we were looking at the clock and we're like, "Oh shit, it's been an hour already. How much more do you think there is gonna be? Like, when's the Starfield Direct gonna be?" And, yeah, it was really well done, really well done.
yeah, so hats off to the team over at Xbox and Bethesda. I feel like this was what the community needed. I think to feel a little bit more confident in what's going on moving forward after the hopefully just stumble that Redfall was, rather than outright falling down and killing the momentum. Right? It feels like, all right, if Starfield comes and it hits the way it looks like it's gonna after today, Redfall is gonna be a distant memory by that point. Who gives a shit?
Mhm.
So, thank you guys for joining us here for another extra special episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast. Let us know what you thought about today's Xbox Bethesda showcase and Summer Game Fest as a whole for 2023, because it's been a pretty good one so far. And remember, next week we'll be back with a little bit more coverage. We've got some more events on Monday and some stuff to catch up with from over the weekend. So I don't think we're going to be doing another live watch along, but we will have a roundup on Tuesday of all the stuff we missed. So keep it tuned here. Make sure you're tuned in for the rest of the Summer Game Fest conversations. If this is your first time joining us, hey, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We're FlipScreen Games. We make a bunch of weekly video game podcasts. Go check them out at FlipScreen.games. That's our website where you can find links to this and all of our sister shows and all the other cool content that we're making here for you. If you're a gamer, we got some good shit for you. So I hope you'll come and join us. Come be a part of the community. Come join the Discord right into the show. However you choose to get involved, you can find links to them all over at flipscreen.games. And we thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of the show. For the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Steve. Mm-hmm. Oh, what did I do? How did I do this? There we go. Well, he's this way. He's over there. We'll see you next week, baby. Bye.